Books. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to make a necklace to match this pair of earrings we made yesterday. Aren't those pretty? Now the pendant part of this necklace is going to be more or less the same as this earring, now a little larger. And then we will put it on some chain, which I'm going to break with a few little tiny bead strands. So let's get down on the mat and we'll show you what we're going to do. Now here is our bead, which matches our earring bead, except for it's a bit bigger. I have already done the crinkle, the mountains and valleys, or that to go around it. Now, because I've already done it, I will show you how to do that in a little bit on a spare piece of wire. In fact, there's the spare piece of wire right there. I've got some chain. I've got a magnetic clasp. Have a couple of small jump rings to put the magnetic clasp on the chain, a big jump ring to put the crystal in, and the little crystals for going around the outside, and then these are going to be part of our chain piece. Now the first thing we're going to need to, we'll also need to make the jump ring for the crystal. And for that, we've got 18, which is also what we're going to use around the edge of our mountains and valleys to make our pendant piece with. We have 24 to do the wire wrapping with the little beads around the edge. And then we have some 20, which is what this is and which is what I use to make the mountains and valleys. But we're also going to use this to string up probably 6 little sections of beads, which I'm going to use to break the chain with, just like this. Normally I put a spacer in, but since I didn't put any on the earrings, I'm not going to put any on the necklace either. And we're just going to put like 3 of these little sections on either side of our chain to break it up some. So I will show you how to do the crinkles now, or I've started calling them crinkles because Beadalon has a tool called the crinkler, which does this same thing, but of course, because it's a tool, it's much more uniform. Mine are probably off by a little bit. But in order to do these, what you need is a piece of 20 gauge wire and simply your flat nose pliers. And you just make a series of bends. Just put your flat nose pliers right into the bend and then bend on the other side. Very simple, but it makes a very interesting piece. See right here, I've already got it not quite uniform. There, that's better. Butt it right up to the wire here and then bend down. Again, going the other direction, bend up, down. Now I always leave a tail, because if you want to make like these, I made these little circles, right, the little closed loops right here at the top, and that's for attaching this. So you'll usually want to leave yourself a little space like that in case you want something like that on there. If you don't want something like that on there, just go all the way to the end and then you can attach it just by wire wrapping, which is what I do when I put these in my tiaras. So anyway, there is how to do the mountains and valleys. And to get this shape, you just wrap it, just finger work it till it gets into the circular form. So here we have our crystal, and the first thing we're going to need is to get the jump ring. I'm going to make the jump ring for this, and you don't need a very big piece for this. I'm going to use my bill making pliers, and then all you need to do is find the end of your pliers. This has a notch, so I'm going to cut that extra little bit off right here, and then you just wrap this like you would if you were making anything. Make sure you go around the edge, and right there is our jump ring. It's finished. I don't need any more than that. I only need the one. So butt your pliers up to the other side and clip. And there's your jump ring finished. Very, very simple to make a jump ring. So let's open this up. So now that we've trimmed that off, we just are going to put it on to our crystal. Well, I will if I can keep hold of it. Let's get it with my pliers. There we go. Now we have our loop on. Sorry about the noise. One of my cats likes to tear up cardboard boxes, and he is in the process of doing that right now. So now our next step is to make the loop around and then the bar up to make our pendant. When we made the earrings, we made this be 9 inches. However, I think this is going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, it's not that much bigger. So we will make this one be 10 inches as opposed to 9. I think that should be big enough. So let's find out. If, just in case we're not sure that 10 will be enough, I may just make it be 11, but because I would definitely much rather have extra than not enough. I was expecting one of those little sharp spots there, but there wasn't one, so I'm not too worried about it. So now we get our ruler out and we measure. Maybe we'll go right in the middle and go 10 and a half. How's that sound? So right here is 10 and a half. So we'll cut this off and put this away. And the next thing we need to get out is our wire bending mandrel, which is this tool. Now, I'm going to leave a tail on one side, and then we're going to bring it around and make a loop. Now we need to see how close that is to our loop that our crystal's going to go in. You go up there, baby. Almost there. It could be just a teeny touch smaller. So we will get the mandrel back out. This is bigger than this because it pops up. See how that works? So we just tighten it a little bit more. And we'll see if that did what we want. And yeah, there we go. See how that fits right around there? So now that we have that there, we want to go to the middle of this. Take our pliers and this one bar, the bigger sized bar, and we want to bend that up. And now that we have that bent up, we will re-verify that that will fit good. Well, that looks pretty good. Could be a teeny touch smaller maybe. And if you think so, just push your ring around easily till you get it just a teeny bit smaller. Look again. Okay. Now, if you've got this where you think you want it, hold on to these with your pliers and then do two or three wraps down here at the very bottom. And I'm going to do 3. that up a little bit. And then we'll cut her off. And we'll re-verify this is going to work good. Oh, yes, she's looking great. So now we want to cut this little tail off here. And tuck this here. Now, as with the earrings, you have two choices here. You could go on now to finish up the pendant up the top, beading it and then making the loop, or you can put in the your little starburst, whatever you want to call it here. I personally prefer to do this little bit of wire wrapping first because I think it makes it easier in the long run. This is a little bit bent forward. There we go, like this. And this is the middle right here, so we want to make sure that that is hooks up there. And the next thing we want to get now is our 24 gauge wire out to do the wrapping of the little beads around the outside and to hook the circle inside. So we have the 24 gauge, and we want, I never did measure it yesterday, so I'm not sure how much I took. This is probably plenty, I would think, here. And I suppose we could measure that to see how much I took. Let's see, shall we? So here's our ruler. It's 12. Looks like 14 or thereabouts inches of the 24. Now, you can do this two ways. Yesterday I showed how to do it starting at the bottom, or you can start at the top and work yourself all the way around. I personally prefer to do that. Now you have to be careful because sometimes you'll pull it and it will end up being on one side or the other, and then you have to finger adjust it, which is not that hard. You just have to make sure that when you do adjust it, you just take hold of it and sort of wiggle and squirm it with your fingers some. So let's get started on this. So the first thing you want to do is to take and do an anchor. So you want to take your wire and wrap it around the top 2 or 3 times so that it anchors your wire in place and you don't have to worry about it coming loose. So then, dependent on the way we're going to go around, we're going to put our piece carefully in where we want it. And in this instance, we're going to put a bead in right off the bat, right here at the top. I'm going to pull some out and put it on the desk because I find it much easier to work on the mat, because you can just grab the bead with the tail of your wire, let it slide down into place, wrap it once around the bar to hold it, and now is when you're going to bring this in and attach it, and we're going to attach it right there at the valley right there. So we'll bring it up and through and around and back down, and we'll make another one going into the loop then. Now I find when I do this, I like to put my finger inside the wire. That keeps it from kinking up as it comes around so easily. Come on, baby. Okay, tighten it up here. And now for our next bead. That will sit right here on the bar right here. And this goes around and through our valley again. Now, as you can see, this is going to want, it's already going a little bit shy of where we want it down here. So we want to pull this a little bit as we come around, because we want it to really match up with our bar here. So in order to do that, you just sort of spread your mountains and valleys out a little bit so that they come around where you need them to be without losing your spot. See, we've got a whole mountain's worth here, so we're going to have to pull these around till we match back up there. This one looks like it could easily pull, but then because we're pulling it and it's going outside, then we're going to need to push it back up again so that it stays in the manner we want it. So now I think I have this side pretty well good. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like this is a middle spot right here. This little mountain right here. So we want to make sure that that mountain stays pretty much here so that it looks like it's going straight up and down to our wire here, which means the adjusting is going to have to come over here, and that's fine because we can do that when we get there. So let's feed this through again and put the next bead on. Now hold these beads with your finger as you bring these around to go into your valley, and you will have them better placed. They won't fight you so much then. Into the next valley. Come on, baby. Now see, this is that kink I was talking about. It wants to kink right here. Ease it through. And it's catching on the mountain here, so let's just get it around there. There we go. And up. And this one I have pulled apparently too tight because you see the mountain has come up and over, or the valley has come up and over the other wire. Since we don't want it to do that, we'll take our pliers and roll it so it goes back down into place. And then we'll go on from there. Now if these roll back to the back on you or in the forward, you can push them back with your fingers. This is wire after all. So on to the next. And again, I've got this wire bar pulled up. So we need to hold it so that it doesn't do that. and then we're going to come in here for the next one. And as you can see, we're pushing out over here, and that's fine because we want this to spread some and still wrap so that it gets up to here again, because we are still not there. But I think our spot that is our problem area is actually right here. So we will keep going down. Actually, I think this is our mountain that we want in the middle, and it's gone off a little bit, but that's all right. We can fix that. Yep. That's where I said the push and pull comes into effect. We just sort of pull this down around here until we get it where we want it. And if you're looking for perfection in this, you aren't going to get it, because this is not a machine. You're doing this by hand. Last I checked, none of us were machines. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I will admit that. And so, and I've been known to tear things apart when they don't make me happy. But I'm not going to do that here. And I think that wire is the one that should have had the bead on it. Nope, we're good. So, bead, come here, you. If you're like me and you have relatively long fingernails, these are actually as short as they usually get right now. You'll find when you get the smaller beads that they go underneath your fingernails and give you a problem. If that happens to you, well, you'll probably need to trim them. But the smaller beads, like I said, I find much simpler to work with if I just put them on the mat and then feed them through the wire on the mat, and as opposed to trying to pick them up, because the small ones will go underneath your nails and make a bit of a problem for you. So anyway, next bead. So here's what we have so far. Like I say, we need to get this side up a little bit further still. And I think we are off a bit because I think this little mountain should be straight across. So we're going to have to try and do a little finger adjusting right here. So let's do that right now. So just take hold of this. You don't want this moved. It's right where you want it. And then just sort of push with your fingers till you get things more where you want them. And that is the 6th little mountain, so we do want it straight across, and it's still not quite there. So let's just push these around some more. Pretty there, much there. So let's go on with wrapping the other side here. Now this one we don't have a valley to go in, so we're just going to go around the bar 2 or 3 times like we did on the other side. And then we are going to bring this down some, and it is off, so we're going to have to do some more adjustments. But since we're finished with this, we're going to trim this little wire off from the other side, And then we're going to pull this up and go around this bar a couple of times to stabilize it. So let's get rid of this first little wire, and we'll tuck it in. We want to make sure it's tucked because we don't want it grabbing on people's clothing and such. Now, because we're not quite there, I do want it up just a teeny bit more, because remember, we have to put the jump ring through both of these hoops so that the crystal dangles in the middle. So we're going to work this up just a teeny bit more if we can. Now hopefully that will hold it good. So then, like I say, we're going to just take this wire from here and then wrap it around this base just a couple of times to give it a little bit more stability for our circle. And then we will trim that little bit off. Looks like that, what was it we had? 14 inches? It was just about perfect there. And if I get a little bit off screen, I'm sorry. I tend to do that when I'm doing some close-up work so that I can see what I'm doing. And I don't mean to, but I do it. So I will apologize for that. So now we have two choices. We can put our crystal on right now, or we can just put the beads on and make the pendant top, which is what I'm going to do, because that way your crystal's not in the middle. You don't have to worry about it getting accidentally banged or something until you're done with this piece. So we're going to do these exactly like the earrings. Here is one of the earrings, so you can see what I'm talking about here. As you can see, it's more or less the same, just a little bigger. So now we're going to put on one of these and then one of the crystals. There we go. Now we're going to bend, and we're going to make a loop at the top. Now we can do this one of two ways. We can use a regular bell and jump ring this onto a bell, or we can just make a loop at the top, like rabbit ears or such. And I think we're going to make some rabbit ear type things. So we're going to bend this over, and then we'll bring my bell making pliers in. But no, instead of the smallest like I normally use, I'm going up to the second size. And we're just going to wrap that around a couple of times. So that we bring it back down over here. And we will now do our wraps. And we want like 2 or 3 wraps here. Well, at least 3, maybe 4. But I think it's going to be 3. Looks like 3. So then that goes like that. We'll trim this off and spread our ears just a teeny bit. We want to very carefully tuck this in, because we very definitely don't want to break that top crystal, because if we do, either we have no crystal there or we start over, because let's face it, this is on the base wire, which everything is attached to. So now that we've got this pretty well straightened up, we're going to put our thumbnail in here. We're going to spread these just a little bit. Now, if you don't have a thumbnail you can get in there, you can use, where did I do with my flat nose pliers here? Oh, they're right down there on the bottom. If you can get your flat nose pliers in here, then you could use those to do the spreading. Or don't want to spread it a lot, just a little bit, so that it has a little bit of definition there of the spread. So, I think I crookeded my wire here. Yep, I did. So then if you need to, you can get in with your regular pliers. If you do that, take hold of here, because I tend to bend it if I don't. And just pull it down just a hair's breadth more if you want that little extra bit more. So there is this piece. Now we need to put on the crystal, and our pendant is done and ready to go on its chain. Okay, so next step is to put the crystal on. So we got the big oval jump ring here, and put it on the crystal. Now we need to put this through these two little rings on the pendant here. And close this baby up. Oops, did I get it front in the right way? No, I think I have it backwards. We want our crystal to, of course, be facing front. So it needs to go like this. And I'm going to take the crystal off till I get the jump ring in the loops. Okay, so through the one, oh, baby, go in there, down through the second one, make sure we're facing the proper direction. This is the back, so put the crystal on facing this direction. Oh, come on, you. You popped out of your slot, didn't you? Work that baby around to where it's supposed to be here. Carefully get in here and tighten our jump ring. Oh, did I get this straight? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, just this popped up there. Okay. Okay. And there is our pendant portion. And now we just need to make the chain. Let's bring up this earring away while we're working on this other portion now. Now we're going to use the chain that was in our bargain bead box. And what we'll do is we're going to put this through here, and then we're going to make, I think 6, and we're going to hang beads pieces, and we'll hang them on either side, and then a little bit more chain, some more beads, a little more chain, just like that. So I'm thinking the first bead strand should be about right here, maybe a little closer. I like the first one to be relatively close. So let's make the bead strands up, And I was debating hooking them straight to the chain, but I think I will get some teeny tiny jump rings and hook them into, put them on the chain after they're already made. It will make it a little simpler here. So let's get to making those. So we need some 20 gauge wire. We'll get out a pretty good size hunk because we need to make these 6. And we can just take them all and then cut them loose as we make them. So we take and make our bend, get our bill making pliers, use our smallest piece, go up and around, come down and around, and see that makes sort of a, pull that off. Now that makes a lollipop type shape. Then put this back in, wrap, 3 times for whatever you feel most comfortable with. I'm going to do 3. Then we'll trim that off and tuck it in. This is not quite right up and down, so bend it some. And there we go. Now my pattern that I was going to put in is one of the small blues, one of the blue greens, and another small blue. And just go all the way down and then do our bend so that we're facing the same direction. Up and around, drop our pliers, come around, and then we'll do the 3 reps. 2, if they come loose, push them up with your thumb. 3, and this wire's too long. I shouldn't have cut it so long because it wants to argue with me as to where it's going. So this is where we want to cut it. And we want to tuck it in. As I said, be careful. That top one they're all crystals and they will break because they're glass. Okay, there's one. Now, if you do accidentally get your little tails going wrong, this opposite ways, you can always take them and do a pull. So 1 done, and I think we decided on 6. So let's get some more of these finished up here. One, 2, and 3. And when you're getting close and you don't know if you have enough finger strength, just take an extra second pair of pliers and just hold them that way. I frequently use, when I'm using like head pins as opposed to regular wire, I will frequently do both, hold with one plier and wrap with a second one. I usually put spacers in things because I really have a thing for spacers. I'm not in this one because I didn't on the earrings, and since these are matching, I didn't want to put spacers where I didn't have them before. we have 4 of them. We need 2 more. And so let's get a teeny bit more wire out. This should be enough for 2, probably even more than enough. So straighten it up. Now I usually just straighten it with my fingers. You can use one of those wire straighteners or some nylon top pliers if you want to, but I just prefer my fingers. Then around, drop, come around, make sure she's straight, and wrap. 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, now trim this and tuck it. Now I trimmed that a little far, so we need to tuck it a little more than normal. So let's hold it while we tuck it, because it's going to want to go up and around to the other loop instead of tucking properly. So there we go. All done. Now let's get our beads on there. And for the wrap on the other side, grab it, bend it, bring your pliers in. Now most people use a round tip pliers for this, and you can. I just like the consistency of this using the Mandrel, because it's always the same size. I'm not slipping up and up or down the barrel, and maybe, you know, having one of my things be small and the next one be pretty good sized. So and then tuck her in. Oops, I didn't like the sounds of that. Let's see if I'd make sure I didn't break it. Nope, but it's pretty darn close to it. Let's make our last one. Up and around, drop, come down, make sure she's straight in place, and do your wraps. Now this one I may need to use my pliers, because I think I bent it up that direction quite a bit. So let's get the pliers out and grab hold of the tail and bring her around. And I'm still going to trim off a little, but not very much. And tuck. Off she comes. And as you can see, I got this one a little crooked as well, so we're going to put our pliers in and bring her around just a hair's breadth there. There we go, that's better. Little bead. Bigger one. And little one. And now we need to do our final wrap here. 1, 2, 3, and down around. Here's my break right here. So and tuck this baby in. And there we go. So anyway, we are at that point now where we are just going to be putting the beads in the chain, which, as I said, we're going to put the chain through the loop here, and then we will be putting little sections of beads like so up the necklace. So I need to get some more jump rings out because I just got enough to put on the clasp. So let's get some out and we will start putting this baby together. Oop, didn't mean to drop that down. So let's see, we'll need about 12 of these little guys. That's probably more than enough. So we're going to hook on one side first, decide how long we want that side it to be, and then we'll hook, and then we'll cut and hook on the next one. So like all jump rings, side to side, go in the chain. Now this chain is a little bit different than any chain I've ever used before, but it's pretty cool. But when you do cut the links, you got to make sure you get both sides, because this chain has an interesting little wrap of the wire in the middle of it. Don't know if you can see it here. See how it has a wrapped spot right here in the middle of each link. So when you cut that, you got to make sure that you cut both sides. Otherwise, you're going to have that little knot spot in the middle of where you're trying to put something on it. So here's the one side, and now the decision is to decide how much space we want between this and this, and I'm thinking not that much, maybe right about here. So we'll cut this right I'm going to cut it at this link. Like I say, you know, you have to cut 2 links. See how it left that little tied spot? I'm going to use my thicker pliers, cutters on this chain. So we'll put these away. So now we want to hook the other side into this side. And then the next thing is, how long do we want before we put the next section in? So just open up a link here, put her in the link at the top here, and put on one of our pieces. And tighten her back up. Okay. Now we have, come on, don't go up over the first little bit of our chain with our pendant done. Now we have, like I say, have to decide where we want how far up we want the next section of beading to go. So I can hook this one side in. And then we can make that decision. So sometimes when I'm doing things like this, I will pull the opposite side of the chain around and then hook it in, and then we can see both sides at once as opposed to just one. which is sometimes helpful. Gives you more of an idea of where you're at. I think about there works good, because then we have our next one up, and then we can decide how long we want to make it after we do that. So let's decide how many links we have right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut it off at number 6. And then cut this other side off here. And then we want 5 for this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm thinking I want it consistent up the row, so I'll probably just need 2 more 5 piecers. So I may just cut those right now, then we can put it together and we can decide how far we want, how long we want the pendant to be. So we've got this one 5 piece, and this one's already hooked onto its 5 piece. So we put this here, and have here and here 2 more 5 pieces for the rest of the chain, and then, like I say, we decide how long we want it to be. Put this aside until we decide on our final length. Get all these little hunks thrown away, and put this puppy together. And the last one. Okay. Now the next step is just one thing is to see how long it is that we already have it, and then we will decide our final length, cut the last little bit of chain, hook up to that last bunch, and then put on our magnetic clasp. So at the present moment it is 14 1/4 inches. We want it to be at least 18 and maybe 20. Let's see. I'm going to see how this falls on me, and then we will see. Just a moment. I think we're going to try 24 inches and see how that falls. But right now it is about 14, maybe 14 1/2. So let's get 10 more inches of chain cut. Actually 9 1/4 and 9 1/2. I think maybe even 9 would be fine, because we are going to put in the magnetic clasp. I think we'll go at 9 right here. So we'll cut it off right here. This is our extra, not very much. And then our 9 and a quarter, got a 9 1/4. I thought I had a 9 1/2, but that's all right. So let's see, 9 1/4 in half would be 9 1/2, 9 5/8. So about right, or sorry, 4 5/8. That's 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 9, and then another 8. So right in, yep, this one right here will come apart. For one side. And for the other side. Okay, now that we have our 2 pieces of wire for running up the back, we will hook one on either side of the bead strands and then put the magnetic clasp on. Lastly, of course, is our magnetic clasp. So we'll need that and 2 more jump rings to put it together. There's 1, 2, and that's the extra stuff. So let's get that onto here. So 1 more jump ring, open her up onto here and onto 1/2 of my magnetic clasp, which is already grabbed the chain down here. Now these little clasps look really tiny, but they are really strong. You can see it's trying to grab everything around it. And lastly, this side, look at that upside down, just splits up right there in the middle. There we go. This on, and then on the other side of the, come here, you. Stop. These clasps are even strong enough that it'll grab beading wire, which has a coating over it, but it feels that metal in it and it goes for it. So anyway, there we are. It's done. There's our necklace, and we will, silly thing, but yeah, that's very, very pretty. And as I say, matches the earrings pretty well. There's one of the earrings. Come on. So anyway, that is our tutorial for our necklace. And let's see what our final length was on this. I think it should be 24, but I'm not absolutely positive. Yep, 24 it is, because it's right at 12 down there. And then, of course, the pendant adds the extra amount. So let's turn up, and I will hold it up for you. Our pretty Crystal Snowflake necklace to match our earrings. Oops, I've got it backwards. Though the silver side cap could go forward if you wanted it to. But there is the necklace. There's its pendant portion and the chain with the splits with the beads. And I think that turned out really pretty. And as I say, here's the matching earring. So that's what the two look like together. If I can get my hands to go so you can see them better. There we go. So earrings, and now the necklace to match. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.